Are you looking for a General Hero tier list for the game King.Castle? This video is for you, A Nob here. In this video, it is that time again. General Hero tier list update for the month of September, and we have a lot of heroes. And if this is your first time, this is when I revisit my General Hero tier list every month, and I keep up with that. So be sure to subscribe to keep updated and things like that every month. I include the newest. Right now, as of right now, my schedule is that these get released soon after a new season starts. So it includes all the potential hero balancing as well as the previous newest hero. So in this case, Mayu, I will be placing him in this list as well, and it's gonna be a fun time. So we are gonna be ranked. I'm gonna kind of try to keep it short, boys. All right, a lot of you guys have been following along, so like if you're new here, you'll get the gist of it, but I'm not gonna kind of rehash the same things. But there's a lot of hero now, so we are gonna do S, A, B, C, D General Hero tier list overall, not any particular mode. Of course, if you kind of think about it in a certain mode, it's gonna look a lot different. This is generally overall. Okay, boys, that's very important. So, and then another tidbit is that I do not do tiers within tiers, meaning that there are no left and right. So if I place Gidnil first and then I place Herang afterwards, it doesn't mean that Gidnil is better. For example, it does a disservice for the heroes of King.Castle, and it's hard enough to even place them in a tier. And another thing, I might do I don't really do in between tiers like C+ and things like that, just to keep it clean. But when I place them, I might put them in there verbally. So I'll be like, hey, Baldir is C+, but I'm just going to put him in C, and I just have to put him in one of the two. So just listen to what I have to say, or just skip to the end, what have you. You guys do you. Skip to the end, screenshot it, whatever, who cares about the mind logic of why I'm placing these heroes, right? So let's just get to it before the video gets too long. So let's start with D tier, and you cannot have D tier without Daniel. I think I'm not gonna rehash everything, okay, boys? So I'm considering every mode, max level, accessories, legacies, what have you. Okay, like I'm considering everything. No, I'm not gonna be doing like a level 8 only, right? Or like no legacies and accessories. If another content creator, if you want to make that, go for it. Not my style. It exists. I have to consider it. So Daniel is a very old hero, one of the OGs, and these changes, everyone wants a rework. The devs have been asked this question about Daniel, and basically they're like, he is kind of in line with the vibe that we want. He doesn't feel too off. So we are struggling with what exactly are we reworking him with, and we're just like, just make him better. Just make the guy better. Like, revamp his kit, everything. Just do it. And it's like, hey, yeah, this guy, he's like, you don't really think about it. He kind of fits this fantasy of like, you don't really think about it, but he's there to have your back, and he's not supposed to be in the limelight, so he's not supposed to be a carry. He kind of fits that already. So we're not really sure what to change about him, because he already, bro. So I don't, like, this is definitely the way that they responded to that question. I don't think a Daniel rework is going to be on the horizon anytime soon. I think it actually is going to take a little bit, but I'd be surprised. But he is definitely one for sure that I guess in the devs' eyes, the players want. Because the players don't exactly know what they want, and it's like the devs like, hey, I know the whatever. That's a different conversation. I'm gonna keep on freaking ranting, bro. Like, we have to go. Next one on the list is gonna be Draco, another old hero. Kid is very old, needs revamping. He's pretty cool, but you don't really see him. TLDR, you don't really see him. Next one, I'm gonna still put. By the way, a lot of this list stays just the same for the most part, because from the last time when I did my previous hero tier list, not much has changed. So a lot of it will be relatively similar if you saw my last one when I put Sargala on the list. So next one's gonna be like a hero lock character, one of the OGs, guy with a pistol, and he is in due for a rework next season 48. So as of time of this recording, Mayu's the latest hero, and season 47. Then second battle pass skin for Priya just came out. So just FYI, if you watch this in the future and you're like, what the heck? Right now, XYZ is super strong. Like us S tier. What is he doing? Right? Well, it's because my updated tier list hasn't come out yet. So be sure to subscribe. All right, next one's gonna be Jupiter. Jupiter's OG damage hero. Just damage. Just another thing is that I'm also considering like utility and things like that. A lot of players, they just want to see big numbers and damage. You know, big numbers damage is pretty cool, but utility is a very huge factor as well in this game in the current state. So Jupiter is just straight damage. So like, if you're a straight damage hero, you have to be assessed by other heroes that can do straight damage. And there's so much freaking damage in this game right now, and she just power creep. She is the definition of power creep. She used to be S tier damage, and it's just like, it's power creep, bro. I don't know. They have to revamp her kit, revamp her numbers or something. I have no freaking clue, but she is in due to some changes, and she's definitely not as great as before. You'll see like a running trend where there's this D tier is now kind of more like, hey, there are definitely older heroes. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put RMS and Evan on here. OG starter heroes, decent DPS, but it's just there are so many better picks that you can do, right? Yeah, so these are the two DPSs that you start with. Yeah, Arma's gang is the super OG. He's still fun. Evan, he power creep, but he's still fun. He can get you through season 1 invasion. But to be honest, like now that you're given so many resources at the beginning, where if you get like an S tier, A tier, or whatever, that carry can do season 2 invasion. That's way better investment than doing Evan just for season 1, if you get what I mean, right? So it's just, we're kind of out of that generation, right? That mindset of, oh, Armus or Evan. Like now it's like, okay, we'll do Armus or Evan. Well, if I had to pick the two, I would definitely do Evan. I would do Evan, and then like, okay, do Evan, but wait until you get a really good, a better carry that can do season 2 invasion, and then just pivot to that carry and throw Evan in the trash, right? And that's kind of like the mindset, right? Like no one really picks Evan to do season 1 and season 2. He can't do season 2. Like these heroes, like when season 2 came out, it kind of like flipped the freaking ball game, right? So yeah, it is what it is. Next one's gonna be Joel, another old hero, oldie. His effects, not really too unique. I'll be honest, not unique. Now that there are more heroes in the game, when he does skill, he is immune to CC. There are a lot of heroes, a handful of heroes now that can do that. If you think about it, do skill immune to CC, right? Like Mayu or freaking Kiran and things like that. Like that exists. And then drain. Okay, cool. There's a bunch of drain, right? But like area drain, that's kind of unique. But his identity, like a lot of these older heroes kind of have like an identity crisis, right? So it is very cool that when he does skill, his auto attack is like a diamond, like a big area, right? I don't think that's enough to differentiate him. I think maybe like when he does skill, when he's in his mode, maybe make his auto attacks hit every map wide. That'll be interesting. Make it map wide, bro. And I think it'll be interesting enough. But right now, they're just better picks. They're just better picks. Needs changes. Older hero. Next one, actually not as old as. To me, he's a newer hero. But to some players, he might be a little older. But Baldir. Identity crisis, man. You know, we talked about identity crisis. He is identity crisis, man. He is deer form in the back, bear form in the front. Bear form sucks. And deer form is DPS, right? And there are some interesting things going on, but it's like they're trying to like do the balance is halfy thing. And I think his kit in both halves aren't as interesting enough. and not as crazy enough to where it warrants him to be like OP, right? Like it's like they're teeter-tottering this balance thing with him, and it falls a little flat. So something definitely needs to be done with him. You don't really see him. Alberon, basic heals. Awakening's awful. Hero lock, what can I say? But by the way, another thing, I do it every freaking tier list. All because they're in D rank doesn't mean that they can't do anything. They may even be part of a meta comp or a meta strategy, right? All because they're D tier doesn't mean that they are not. Okay, just I gotta explain these things, guys. All right, so Alberon, he is heals. If you want AoE heals, Alberon's your boy, right? Alberon is used in whatever XYZ mode, right? Like, he shouldn't be D. Well, I mean, I'm considering all modes, but I'm considering his utility in general, right? Like, he just brings AoE heals, and right now, heals are not strong. Heals, it's a lot of shields, it's a lot of mighty blocks, it's a lot of health, it's a lot of tanky, right? And you see less heals for sure. Like, a lot of heroes have baked in heals and baked in HP steroids, right? It's a lot about that nowadays. So his value has gone down for sure, and it doesn't help that he's one of the OG heroes, and his awakenings suck. So his awakenings need to I want to see some more interesting awakenings from him. And he's definitely in due for a awakening rework at least, so it is what it is. Next one, another newer hero lock character, Isaac. She was low-key very strong back in the day, and then she kind of fell off a little bit, and then there was a rise in some Isaac strats, and then she kind of fell off again, and then I did rank her a little higher on the tier list in the past because she does have utility, and you use her for utility. It's like the link, right? The chains has some interesting properties, but if the idea is that you only have so many heroes that you can put on your team, right? And if I'm comparing her utility to other heroes in the game, would I want her to take up one slot for her link utility factor? And the answer is no. There's a lot way better utility in the game than her link thing right now. So I think they need to tweak how the link skill works, or put a little more spiciness to it, or something what have you, but the utility is power creeped and that's how I feel. So that is D tier. C tier, in Wrath. We're gonna get in Wrath. So he scales off of no items. Very good for he is season 1 invasion god. You just put him and click go and you're good. But season 2, don't do him in season 2. I did New to Pro Series 2 and I used in Wrath. That was before all the game changes happened, boys. And he was invasion season 1 god. And then they introduced season 2 and he was like, no. And then he's still very good in arena, round 1 hero. Other than that, there's some fun things you can do with him, but he is definitely brain dead. So if you're a player that you don't want to think, in Wrath's your boy. Pretty decent. He scales off of no items. So if you're a player that's I hate deciding what items go on what hero, use him as a carry. Don't put any items on him because he gets stronger with no items. Boom, you're good, right? Pretty unique design. There's not many heroes in this game they actually have an identity, and that's his identity. Pretty good. Next one, Agath, another hero lock character added as a backup, and she is team-wide meat shield, very good for damage mitigation as a team as well, and it provides a heal when you have her awaken. Very good, solid tank, but and she's a solid tank. Her awakening 2 sucks. Don't use it. I mean, it's memes, right? But she is tank. She is the tank go-to if you're straight tank. But if you are just straight tank and no damage or what have you, you're gonna be lower on the list. Even though I'm an Agath fan and she is very good on giant teams. She's staple, right? And things like that. So solid hero for sure. Next one's gonna be Chang'e, another favorite by newer players for sure. She needs more changes. They buffed her and over the years and things like that, and her awakenings needs to be adjusted, and she's a DPS hero, and there are better DPSs. And there's another hero that is her friend due to lore, her friend, master, I don't know, comrade, and I much prefer that hero over her, and it's a very similar vibe. So she's all right. She's all right. Next one, Pharrell. Pharrell was godlike when he was released, and then they smacked his spell power down to the ground, and then he's good. He's all right, right? He can do things. He has his awakenings are actually pretty solid. I think they need to revert their nerf on his spell power. Give him back his spell power. I don't see any issues with it, to be honest. Just give him back his spell power, or like give him half of it back. I don't know, but just give it to him back. I think he felt super fun when he was released, and then they like, nah, we're gonna release it by like, we're gonna reduce it like by like 50% or some crap, and it's like, all right, bro. Now I guess he's like he's baseline now, right? Like he's not like he's. I don't really have too much fun with him, and I kind of have an issue with like how his skills look and stuff. It doesn't have that much of an oomph to it, right? Like I get it, they want to make it feel like arcane magic or what have you, but I mean, come on, give the boy his spell power back. Mercil, she used to be super strong, S tier in Arena back in the day before Grand Arena buff and things like that. But nowadays, you don't like, she's a healer. But you don't really see her as a damage dealer. No, you don't really see her as heals either. And that's a bygone past. Nowadays, you see her specifically for the damage boosting capabilities as well as CC immunity. Less so, but the utility is there. So you can use that as a strategy, and it covers like a team-wide thing. There's some interesting strategies and, interactions with Mercil. So she's not D tier. She has uses and interesting enough in herself, but you mainly see her as damage boosting only. You don't really see her as a damage dealer or heals. Funny enough. Next one's gonna be I have Nabella. So Nabella, where the heck is Nabella? Nabella. They did quote unquote buff her, and she definitely feels way better with the Courage Legacy for sure. If it wasn't for Courage Legacy, she might be D for me, but because of Courage Legacy, she does have like a place, right? I think she's not bad, not too shabby, but still has a lot of freaking problems. So C tier, her damage is fine. She does have that identity thing. I think her attack speed needs to be faster. I don't know. Anna's like, maybe give her the Zalbai treatment, make her scale off attack speed. I think would do some wonders for sure. I'm not sure. I do like the character. There's not a unique special thing about her that like pops out. And her kid is kind of uninspired, I guess, because you have like Kierden, and then now you have all these people that can jump in the back line, and then she kind of spins but like she kind of does it in bursts, but it's not fast enough kind of thing. And then but if she's burst, she doesn't really burst as much. It's weird. She needs changes. And funny enough, Kierden, I'm gonna put him in C. It's kind of funny because he wasn't touched, nerfed, or buffed or whatever, and then they kind of nerfed him, and you definitely felt it. And then he just get power. He just caught like the nerf was like a ratio change, and after that he just got power craft. He's still pretty solid. He's just solid. I mean, come on. Do we need to nerf heroes? Like, can you just revert him? I think you can revert him. I think if you revert whatever they did, it was the attack speed, interval scaling or what have you. Just revert it, man. Like, I don't know. I'm a fan of like not nerfing and just kind of keep it kind of strong and like broken. Like if it's not, when it's broken, you need to nerf it. Like Saras, for example, right? But like if the data shows that it's high win rate, then I feel like you should touch it a little bit. Maybe if you even nerf it anything, but like make everything else stronger, right? I'm always a fan of that. I don't want to have less fun, for example, right? And it just feels bad. Next one's gonna be Shota. Shota is a OG tank, and her second awakening is garbage, only memes. Awakening 2, she generates mighty block. So instead of like, she's this tank, but she's a mighty block type of tank. She has health, but she doesn't make a tank in health. She makes it up in mighty blocks, right? And mighty blocks right now, the value of it is very strong, so she generates her own mighty blocks. Very good strategic value for a lot of like any strategies or what have you. If you need a tank, shield up mighty blocks. Very good. Next one's gonna be Yan. There was a Yan era, and I just don't think that she's DPS. Yeah, there's the healing factor, but healing is so out right now that it is like, yeah, she can heal herself. Like as team heals, you don't even think about that right now. Like team heals, that mindset does not exist. Team heals doesn't really exist. And I mean, there are some niche cases where you would want to think about that, but it's so freaking niche that a player shouldn't necessarily have to think about it. So like it's about the damage, and then she can heal herself, right? Which is cool. So self-sustain, right? And she does a lot of damage. And it's interesting that her water bolo things, it's an interesting cadence interval where the damage hits and then when the heal hits, right? It's kind of delayed almost. So it's a very interesting feeling that you don't really get often in the game. So, you know, see Tyr, she's damaged. She did do a lot of damage at one point, and I don't think she's awful, so that's why she's not D. So yeah, Kathy's gonna be next one. Kathy used to be reigning supreme, 0 utility, and does she have 0 utility? Hold on, did they add? You know, it's hard. It is beginning to get hard to keep track of what it was before in my brain, and then what like small tweaks that they did of recent, right? Because there's of recent, they like maybe they added like a slow attack speed, slow effect to something, right? And I'm just like, there's no utility, but you know, attack speed, slow effect, right? They might have added an no, it was Hanzi. It was Hanzi when they added the movement slow of her rainstorm, her rain awakening 1 thing, right? So yeah, that was a Kathy, I'm pretty sure. But basically, she has 0 utility basically, and then she's straight damage. So right now, she is still fun. Like, you know, even though she's C tier doesn't mean she's not fun and she can't do damage. Everyone in the freaking game can, like, well, the DPS, you know, if you're intended to, does some damage, and you can do it in a fun way. It doesn't, you have to rank them in some way, right? And you can put her on scope, Dwarven scope relic, and she goes at it and ricochet, and it's very fun, right? Bam, 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 sling, sling, sling. But just in terms of DPS, she's just, you don't really see her as often anymore. Definitely on the lower echelon. Next one's gonna be Bommy, one of my favorite range carries, and yeah, they did one of the best changes in the world by changing him to instant cast at round start, boys, and it's a freaking amazing. But unfortunately, range carries aren't the best right now. It's still not the best. I know Tia, like the Tia popularity is hitting right now, and I honestly don't think Tia is that great. Just that, you know, a few players have played it in arena, and then people copy that deck. You know, it's the nature of kinggodcastle, and everyone spams Tia for some freaking reason, and I personally don't think it's that strong. Yeah, when you get the whatever, you know, we'll get to Tia. Bommy, range hero, right now, range heroes aren't too great, right? In general, like the swiftness heroes, right? So Bommy is one of them, and he's solid, but you don't really see him as much. And there are some strategic, you know, like his second awakening actually. A lot of people sleep on it, but there was a lot of strategic value with his second awakening. And that is correlated to why, you know, it's strong because of the current meta of the value of mighty blocks, right? So he can shred mighty blocks really quickly. So that he's solid. It's just that right now there's just better DPSs, and he's strictly a DPS hero, right? So yeah. Next one is going to be Behemoth. So Behemoth's gang, the legendary Behemoth's gang, bygone era. He has utility. You don't really see him around anymore because a lot the average King God Castle round is like longer now, so it reaches overtime more. So when you reach overtime, then shields and what have you, and evasion and all this junk, it just gets worse, and just damage. Please, I liked it way more when his shield was based on his damage that he dealt rather than his spell power. I feel like when they did that, he like died. So please revert some of these nerfs, please. It's like, it feels awful. Next one, I did move Leo, my boy Leo, back to rank C. Or I don't know if he was rank C. Oh, my head is blocking the way. Here you go. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna keep on blocking him. But they did buff him recently. But I mean, the buff was nice, right? It's not gonna make him super OP. He is the definition of OG starter tank. But the idea is that he is actually useful. He is still useful later in the game. He might not be the best thing. He's the most straightforward, basic person ever. You use Awakening 1. There is some strategic value with Awakening 2, but Awakening 1 is definitely where it's at. But like, he's just, with the buff, he's just more tanky. He stuns faster, and he just does everything better, right? Like, and he's not like, I would rather pick Leo to slot, like, again, he's a tank, right? So like, if you're comparing Leo to Draco, it's a little, right? But I will use, there's a usage for Leo on my team rather than a Draco, if that makes sense. He is seen mainly in Arena. So to be fair, you see him mainly in Arena, but like as a frontline unit, a beefy frontline unit that you want to delay the damage going to your backline, he is solid, man, and he serves the purpose. He is the definition of the OG starter tank that like is super beefy. And his Awakening 1 stuns, and you kind of get a slight shield, but is whatever. But he has a lot of damage mitigation built into him, so he is kind of hard to kill, and that is why he's good for damage delay. So yeah, Leo. And then I think that is it for C tier. B tier, we're gonna have to fly through this, man. This is too long. Dandy, Dandelion tank has a bunch of utility in there, but she so she has like exposed weakness. I mean, the only see, like, the thing is, she has exposed weakness in there. She has like attack speed slow, she has like HP steroid thingy, right? And she under some circumstances she can do some damage, but her damage thing is based on like an interval tick, and it just doesn't feel as great. But she is definitely on the higher echelon because she's a tank and can do all of these things, right? She's not on the lower end. She can actually do things. And it's like a mix of things, right? And then for damage boosting, you typically see some other options. I mean, you can use Dandy, but it's not her. She can do a little bit of everything. She's kind of universal, right? And right now, in terms of damage, there are better heroes for it. Now you can get to that point where it's like you can kind of do unkillable Dandy, kind of, right? I mean, you can, yeah, Great Rift, okay, I get it, guys, but Great Rift, there's other modes, that's right. There's other modes than Great Rift, right? You can do whatever. Great Rift is a sandbox, all right? But there are some fun things you can do in Great Rift with Dandy, but I just don't. The other heroes that I put in A tier, it's hard for me to place her side by side with those, basically. So she's a solid hero, has a lot of things going on for her, different usages, damage boosting, you can do damage, you can do a front line, she can kind of be hard to kill and things like that. So solid hero, middle of the road, and B tier is pretty good, boys. I mean, B tier is not bad at all. Like, B tier is pretty good, right? So all because the heroes are in B and C doesn't mean they're trash, all right? All right, next one's gonna be S. Yeah, man, I'm gonna try to fly through this, okay? Utility up the wazoo, scales off of attack, but it can do damage, a bunch of utility, pushback, good one slaughter, what can I say? Pretty good. Try her out. Next one's gonna be Gidneel. Awaken is gonna be B tier for me. Spell shield, the value of spell shield is pretty good and pretty stable. Very good one slaughter as a support unit to share spell shield with your team. If he is not Awaken, he is like F tier, legit one of the worst heroes in the game for sure. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put him in there. Tayback. Tayback is another hero where if you don't have him Awaken, he is F tier. F freaking tier. And I still put Tayback in B. I'll give him like C plus right now. I'll give him C plus, but I'll move him up to B. So if you have Awakened Gidnil, he's very useful with sharing Spell Shield, right? Very useful for certain things and competitive modes specifically, right? Very good one slot utility. Tabek, another utility unit. Awakening 2, never do Awakening 1. And by the way, let's go back to Gidnil real quick. So Awakening 2, there are some strategic value in that, but 9 times out of 10, you want to do Spell Shield Share, to just a little tidbit. So Tabek, you never want to do Awakening 1. Like, you don't use Tabek as damage. Like, people are like, why do people rank Tabek so high? He sucks, right? You use him for invincibility taunt, and that's his Awakening 2. And it's a pretty unique effect and is very strong. It's kind of, the value of it is kind of dipping up and down, you know, like it kind of depends on the meta and things like that, but he's still very useful. So definitely with Courage, well, they did kind of nerf it, but Courage still, the whole Courage legacy with Tabek still works, and there's some value in it, so it's still effective, just not as crazy effective as before since it was a nerf, but still pretty solid utility, and try it out. So yeah, next one's gonna be, I'm gonna put Hela up here. They did buff Hela. Her damage is actually pretty decent now, and she feels pretty not bad. I feel like there's some there's definitely should be changes to adjust her a bit more, but I believe I put her pretty low of recent, and now she kind of made it back up with the recent change. So I still think that she needs a little bit more something, but she's not bad now. Not bad is what I'll give her. The next one is going to be Ophelia. Ophelia reworked. She is functional. And I'll give you that. She is functional and like reworked, like she is 10 times better than what she was. Okay, to be fair, I did want her to retain her like anti-carry aspect where like she reduces spell power of whatever she's zapping, right? Maybe like make it to where whoever's in the blood pool reduce SP, right? I feel like that part of it needs to be added on, but other than that, she's just kind of like a drain tank basically, that does like scaling damage, right? Or whatever. Like I feel like the scaling, you know, making her, you know, get to the point where a pool is large. I feel like that interval needs to be like shortened so she reaches that faster, but she has some tweaks that to make her feel more fun. And right now it's kind of there's a feeling of like dragging, right? Like it kind of drags out. I'm just like, all right, let's reach to it, right? So yeah, I'd like to see, there's some changes definitely to be made, but she's kind of, you know, she's better, much better than what she was before. Functional is what I'll say. Next one's gonna be Rahak, a staple, solid order kind of hero. He throws 2 birds, and he can apply his damage boosting ability to like multiple units and things like that. So he's very solid. He can do a lot of damage himself, and attack speed slow and things like that. There's a pretty good utility for that. His range is pretty large as well, so pretty good. Priya, the second battle pass right now for her. Her damage pretty solid, and she's just, you know, she's solid. AoE, exposed weakness with menace and things like that. That's what she's used for right now. You can use her as a carry as well, and a lot of stun lock, right? And she's always been kind of in the middle of the idea of if you're making a stun lock team, you're gonna have Priya on it, right? Pair her up with Barger and things like that. So she is pretty good. Like, she's one of the older heroes for sure, OG heroes. And she's in the middle of the pack, and it's very interesting to see. Next one's gonna be Hedong, CC man, Waze man. I personally like him. You know, he's one of my favorites for sure. Just that he was super dominant, and I don't think they ever freaking nerfed this guy. By the way, I don't think they ever nerfed him. After all the years of Hedong Terror and Arena, they never freaking nerfed him, right? You're using this guy as CC utility. You're not using him for damage, though you can build anyone for damage in this game. I'm not saying that, but you use this guy typically for his Awakening 1. Awakening 2 still applies. There's some interesting strategic value in that one with the frozen thing, right? So because in this game, freeze. It's kind of funny because right now there are a lot more volume of players, so they are experiencing the freeze totem debacle, where freezing effects in this game bypass CC immunity, and like because they are seeing that, it's been around for forever, by the way, guys. So it's just kind of funny that it's like there's a lot of players who are experiencing this idea of, oh, my hero has CC Blade Crown, like I should be immune, but like they get hit with Heirang Awakening 2 and like a freezing totem, and they're just like, why? So it's kind of funny. It's pretty freaking funny. But anyway, he has both of his awakenings very good. CC Man, Paramount Bardry, it's very good. Like the way it comes out, the way his like waves come out at a cadence with some sync with Bardry, it can kind of get, you know, stun locky, and it's very fun. Pretty good hero. Staple CC, what can I say? Rosette, she got buffed, solid damage. She's a damage booster as well. She's kind of beefy, tanky. She has interesting like damage mitigation kind of effects. She kind of has interesting damage mitigation kind of effects in her kit, so it's very interesting. So you mainly see her as a damage booster. She's one of the damage boosters in the game, but she is melee, so you kind of have that variety in damage boosting nowadays. But you mainly see her as damage boosting, but you can use her as a damage dealer and do like fun dunk builds, you know. So she is pretty solid. One of the older kind of heroes as well, so pretty freaking solid. Next one gonna be Zhao Yun. Zhao Yun, one of my favorite heroes in the freaking game. He needs changes for sure. They did kind of do like a change, but I'm still confused about whether if that was a actual change or is it something that they just stated and it's always been like that. Because anyway, that's another conversation. But you see him in raid mainly, but there are some opportunities for him to be in like arena, but you definitely don't see him. You can do him in Great Rift, and then invasion. This is not an invasion farmer type of hero, and his kit needs to change overall. But he's a very unique kind of hero where he is a melee hero, but he's like +2 range. He's not plus shape, right? He's like a diamond shape or what have you. So he's pretty unique in himself as a melee hero. He's very straightforward. He's definitely one of the older type of heroes. I know he is one of my, he was one of my first heroes that I got from Gacha way back in the day when I started playing. So I kind of have like an attachment to him. But I mean, I think his kit needs to widen a little bit, a little more versatility, a little more oomph, a little more spiciness, right? A little more identity. But he does kind of have an identity. I just kind of want to bring it to the current generation, 2024 kinggodcastle type, right? So because he's definitely one of my favorite heroes. Next one, his brother Zhao Bai, definitely one of the fan favorites. He's middle of the road. He's very fan favorite. You know, everyone likes to see that he's the Virgil Sephiroth of the game. I mean, what? I can't. Oh, and like we'll get to the Virgil Sephiroth, and then we'll get to the Chun-Li, the Chun-Li of the game. For those who play fighting games, you guys know what I'm talking about. Zhao Bai is just one of those heroes, man. Like he is this Virgil Sephiroth, Dante type of hero. Very fun to see, very straightforward. Like you put Seirang on this guy, and he goes zooming at the start of the round, and you kind of do that Omni Slash thing going on, and it's fun. It's a fun time. But at the end of the day, he's middle of the road. You don't really see him everywhere. Like he's pretty middle of the road. And next one's gonna be Elizabeth. Elizabeth is gonna be a void stacker hero, and she has a really unique effects in her kit where there's like redirecting taunt effects, and you can stun with her golem things. There are 3 void stackers in the game that you think of when you think of void stack. You think of Elizabeth, you think of Rai, and you think of Mara, right? And the unique thing about Elizabeth is that she can actually proc her own void stacks by killing her off her own stone golems, right? And the other 2 can't do that. Like they recast and they can't kill them off. So a enemy has to actually kill their unit to do the stack. Elizabeth can actually kill off her own unit and get the stack, right? So there's some interesting there. Always the issue with her is that she is not a 100% mana starter. So when that happens, she's a freaking like A tier. She is definitely up there. So her kit is pretty unique, very solid hero. Next one's gonna be, I'm gonna put Kane. Kane, item farming guy. You typically only see him in item farm. I know there was that Kane like bug shenanigan that happened or whatever, but like that's, you know, whatever, right? Like you see Kane, he's item farming guy. Use them for raid, use them for invasion, leaderboard damage, whatever you want. You typically don't see this guy as a damage dealer at all. You are using him from item farming. And yeah, because of item farming, he's a B tier. I have issues with him as a solo carry, but we're not going to get into that. It's going to be too long. I'm going to try to go really fast, but he is item farming guy. That is why he's B tier. Yeah, he's staple in raid for item farming, what have you, etc. But that's not enough for me to put him in A, boys. Like, so he's super niche, but item farming, you need him awakened, right? Next one's gonna be Ren. So Ren is the Chun-Li of the game. Ren is the Chun-Li of the freaking game, and when I say that, is like she is the hero that will continually get. I mean, Priya is another one as well, but it has skins on skins on skins on skins. Like, they will not stop putting more skins for these heroes. And guess why? It's because people like her. They are popular. Same thing with Zhao Bai. And that is why you don't really see some of the lower played kind of heroes have a lot of skins. Is the why. She is the Chun-Li, bro. Chun-Li, and then Zhao Bai is the freaking like Ryu or what have you. Like Virgil, Sephiroth, Dante. Like that's Zhao Bai, Chun-Li, Ren, Priya. Like these are the type of heroes that will always get skins because they are very popular. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. So Ren, even with the changes and things like that, she's still middle of the road for me. Yeah, middle of the road. What can I say? Mighty Block, she can generate it. It stacks, by the way, whenever she does her skill. That's why it's very strong. And she's still middle of the road. Maybe I'll give you maybe a B+, right? So yeah. There it is. All right, next one, I'm going to bump Tia up to B. I think I had her C at the start of last season, I believe. And she is a ranged hero, and she got really popular for some freaking reason. I personally don't think she is that strong. Super counterable, and has a lot of issues. And it's just that, you know, it's just how metas work, right? Like players play it and then players see other players play it, so they play it, right? I think it's super counterable. I get why it could be very strong, but it's not as oppressive as one might think. But like, I mean, let's be honest, if you have the right affixes on Tia, then yeah, she's unstoppable, right? But you have to reach there. But you can say that about like literally every other character, right? Perfect items. You know, it is what it is. But I will give you I will give you guys. I will move her up. I do recognize the strength. She is definitely one of the better heroes, range heroes at least, like above the C's and things like that. And definitely is being played. But I don't necessarily think she is as strong as some might think. So I'll give you middle of the road, B tier. Next one is going to be Jinju. Jinju, she did get buffed. She does feel a lot better. She feels a lot better, guys, with her buff. Even though her buff seemed a little lackluster, she does feel better. It's not gonna like break the game or gonna like make her S tier, but like she is way more usable now. And I think she has a place, and you can use courage legacy on her. And I think that it's kind of like the Nabella effect. So like, since she's a courage hero and she can utilize courage, so when she dies, it's actually better, right? Which is kind of funny to say. But like with her buffs, with courage, pretty freaking solid. I think so. And she's the hero that I told you that I actually prefer Jinju over Chang'e, because they kind of feel the same role. Their kits are kind of similar, kind of vibe, but like Jinju is just so much better, man. So much better. So yeah, she feels pretty good. Next one, I think this is gonna be the last one for B tier. I am gonna be placing the newest hero, Mayu, here. He is pretty much how I felt about Jinju and Shi release, but a little better. A little better than when Jinju released. He does have a, like, his kit is pretty rounded out. Like, he has stuff going on, right? Like, he kind of has that Cure Dan kind of vibe where, like, when he has low mana, so, like, boom, you smack him, then he initiates his, like, steroid state. But when it's kind of weird, right? Like, it feels like he's meant to be a utility kind of hero, but his damage is kind of it's there, but not really. And it kind of, there's a lot of ups and downs, right? There are a lot of ups and downs, and I feel like there needs to be some kind of number adjustment or something. Like, even I'm like, of course, like with Max Awakening and everything, right? Like I have it, right? I've been playing with it. There is a place I feel, but he feels super wonky. I don't know how to put it. I really don't know how to put it, man. I really don't. His kit's super wonky. There's like a CC effect in there. It's pretty cool, and he has like this channel state, and it doesn't matter if he's plus range, because he's the type of hero where when he has max mana, he actually has to be in range to do the skill. He has to do the toss effect, right? So he has to walk up. Like he doesn't just do it where he stands. He has to walk up then do it. So it's like an AI thing too. So then that feels kind of bad. So I don't know. He just feels a little off. He feels off. And his damage is like is not the greatest, right? He's like a tanky kind of hero too. So I mean, I love his skin so much, right? Like so he's definitely middle of the road. Like I might even put him C+. But like because of his kit and things like that, and kind of comparatively, I think I'll give him C+, but I'm bumping it up to B this time. We will see next time how I feel about him. But there it is. Newest hero in B, Mayu. I think that is, I might be forgetting for someone, but we'll revisit. But I think that is it for B tier. A tier. All right, let's go through this quickly. Lily, hero lock character, staple tank, remount mount, very usages on Awakening 2 sucks. There are some funny things you can do with Awakening 2, but Awakening 1 is what you want. There's a stun in there. Remount mount, hero lock character, cute, fan favorite. What can I say? Lily, she's a mute as well, according to her bio, if you didn't know that. Next one's gonna be, I'm gonna put Naria in there. Naria, 5P's barbarian, very fun. She has been, I mean, I think she's been a staple in A tier for a while for me, and it is just kind of accentuated after like accessories got released and things like that. So she's super fun. She is at a very good spot in my opinion. She's not gonna be like S tier at any point. I don't think. I mean, you know, it's freaking KinggodCastle. Maybe she could be double S tier. Who knows? But her path when she was released is very interesting, because when she was released, she was garbage. They changed her, etc. And then like I'm an Area fan. Like I love the Bloodborne look, like the Souls look. Crossbow, you know, very interesting. So A tier, very good. Next one, another Void stacker. I mentioned her name is gonna be Rai. Rai, puppeteer, quote unquote summoner, right? One of the summoners, and she's very staple. Scales off attack speed, very good. What can I say? Still very relevant, very good, and very good damage. Can be very oppressive, very reliable, and even when you're not using Void, both of her awakenings are very good. So a lot of synergy working there. And then another Void feeder, I'm just gonna put her there. Void stacker, Mara. You see her since Void was released. She is when personally, when I think of Void Relic, I think of Mara. It's because she can clone herself, do the Void stacking thing. Right, she can't self stack it like Elizabeth, but she can clone, right, and make a clone of herself. She stuns that target. She generates a mighty block, and there's a lot going on, and she's a staple. There's a lot of delay and pathing and things like that that's with that, and she's very strong. And on top of that, her second awakening is exposed weakness, so you can do damage boosting capabilities if you want with her, right? Like she has that ability. She's a pretty all-around hero. You can use her as DPS too, like rapid swords. I did that build way back. And there's some fun things that you can do, like definitely with the rapid swords buff, you know, she's even better, right? So she's very strong, like all around low key, very strong. So yeah, like staple since a while, right? Next one, I'm gonna put Kadam on here. Kadam, evasion. What can I say? Definitely not S tier as she once was. Very, very impressive, very good. She's the only one that has evasion in her kit. And obviously you have the emissary hat relic, but not as popular right now, but we'll see. But she's the only person that has evasion right now, and she's very popular, and I do love her design, and she's very interesting, but not as oppressive as before. But you know, I think she's at a good spot. I do want them to revert the whole thing when she's stunned, she can't riposte or whatever. Like she can't do she can't dodge while being in a stun state. I want them to revert that so she can dodge in a stun state. I didn't really like the whole evasion even in overtime, but I get why they nerfed it. It was pretty strong. So I think she's at a good spot. Just I wish they kind of allowed her to dodge while in a CC state, but that is a little OP as well. But you know, give and take. Give and freaking take. Next one, Victoria. Burst damage. Victoria fans. She can do things that not many heroes can do. There are a lot of bugs associated with like pathing, like right. So with any heroes that have like crazy pathing and things like that, it is natural that there's gonna be some buggy AI. It's always been like that, and like Victoria's kit is based on pathing, like movement, right? So not surprising, but she can do things. I'm full disclosure, I'm not a huge Victoria fan, but I have to recognize the Victorias, right? And then next one, Tayson. Even with the nerf, he's still OP, right? He is 10 mage man, CC tank. Damage scaling is pretty freaking unique, and very strong overall. Like I might give him A+. He is so relevant. He is technically a tank. By the way, he's technically like a tank. And he's the best tanky. Well, I say best tanky. Okay, how about oh man, there's another hero that I kind of classify as kind of a tank, and I like her way much more personally. So one of the better tanks. How about that? One of the best tanks. How about that? We'll say one of the best tanks of the game for sure, that can do damage and utility and what have you. Definitely one all stop shop guy. You put Mur on him and things like that, and it's a good time. Freaking Tayson. Basically, Tayson right now is how Heirang was in the past. Heirang, when he was in arena and things, like he was so freaking impressive, and now Tayson's kind of like feeling that effect essentially, kind of. But even better, more so for sure. Next one, I'm gonna put Kanak here. Kanak, he's still pretty freaking solid. His rework, Kanak in D freaking tier, meme no more. His damage is pretty good, and he's just not as relevant all around as before, but he is still freaking solid. He can do things, bro. He can do things. Still pretty good. And then I think Hanzi, I put her in A tier last time. Maybe with a rework, I'm still gonna put her in A tier. I think she's very good. And very strong. And definitely one of the better range heroes in the game, for sure. And there's a lot of potential there. Now a lot of people are kind of lukewarm about a rework because like it didn't feel like a rework. It felt more like a balance. Like, we kind of changed like some numbers and things and things like that. And I think a lot of players were expecting to like totally flip the switch and kind of like feel like a huge difference, and that huge difference wasn't really felt too much. But I do think she is much better, and I think her damage can get pretty freaking insane. So you know, I think her awakenings are okay. But I think she's definitely a better spot than what she was before, 100,000%. In my opinion. So I'm gonna put her in A. We'll see if she gets knocked down to B+ or something over time, but I'm really liking her right now, and she's very solid. All right, so I think that is it for A tier. All right, S tier, let's do it fast, boys. Lunaire, Link hero. Mono, Link hero. Seirong, Link hero. I'm not gonna rehash it, boys. You guys can figure it out yourselves. 3 Link heroes. You can only have one on your team. All of them are hero logs, and they link to a hero, and when they do skill, they buff that hero and they do more damage. That's short and sweet, okay? And there are some differences between the 3, but all of them are usages in any kind of mode, staple, Link hero. There are some comps that you don't really need a Link hero. So, I mean, don't think that you always need a Link hero, but there are some cases where You don't really need it, right? There's some strategic flair with that, right? But know that these heroes are very strong. They each have their own kind of usage and why they would use it. And I'm not really rehashing this. Just know that it's a lot of gray area. It's not black and white. It's not like, oh, this person buffs attack, so my hero does attack damage, so I use mono, right? It's not as clear cut as that. There's a lot of nuance. So the best thing I can do to tell you is that just try to figure it out, and just know that it might be a little frustrating at first because you don't know which one to use, but just kind of as you play, you kind of get more experiences and experience things. So I'll let you guys discover that one out yourself, but these are very strong, very core to the identity of King God Castle, so be sure to figure those out. And this one is going to be Bardry mana battery team wide. Yeah, Seirong is the second mana battery that was introduced into the game, but Bardry is still alive, still kicking, still has a usage. Mana team wide mana battery unit. Pair her with anyone who needs mana, and you're cooking. Next one, Ian doing Ian things. Percent scaling, does a lot of freaking damage. He is back. Very good. What can I say? We're gonna go through these quick. So Mel, another fan favorite. Percent scaling, and you know there's like a you know a theme going on here, right? So they buffed Mel, or reverted / buffed Mel, and she feels really good, very played right now, and she's back to her full glory, I suppose. But she is very good right now, and oh no, it's good to see. It's good to see back Mel back in S, because like when I put Mel in like A tier, it felt so freaking bad as like a player who's been playing for a while. So Belina, she's still really good, still usages. I would venture to say that she's like A+. But I will give you S this time, but just know that I will put her in A+. A+ for me. A+ for me. Some players, they might see it differently. They're like, oh, Belina is like freaking godlike. Yeah, she is pretty godlike. But there's some things that makes her not godlike. And for this patch, I'm feeling more of an A+. But I will, if just looking at the other heroes in A, I'll give you S tier. I'll give you S for now, but it is going to be interesting to see what it looks like down the road, right? Next one I'm going to put, just put both of them on here. Sargala, Saras, still freaking dominant, still very good, still very fun to play. And it's just, Sargala is like that tanky hero I was talking about with Tayson. So I think like Sargala is one of my, I have to say, might be my favorite hero in the game by far. She is like a tanky bruiser, does a lot of damage, and I am a sucker for that archetype, bro. That is my archetype. But it's not just bias. She's actually really freaking good and she's freaking busted, right? And I love the freaking hero, man. I freaking love it. Give me a battle pass now. I'll throw my money to the screen. And Saras is really freaking fun to play, man. And he's still percent scaling or whatever. Like his awakenings are pretty interesting and very strong scope builds or what have you. And these heroes are the current identity of kind of like King God Castle, right? And it's kind of these upper echelon SA kind of thing. And it's their kind of, like, a lot of players look at the upper echelon and like, hey, let's make him like those, right? And things like that. So they are still very strong. So all right, I think that is it for my general hero tier list for the month of September. Let me move my head. Here's Elizabeth and Leo. There's you go. There's a screenshot. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about Mayu? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? And as a reminder, I update this general hero tier list every month. So next month I'll be revisiting it, updating it with a new hero, with the new balance patches and everything else. So be sure to subscribe and keep up with that one. And as always, thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it, and I'll see you next one, boys. Later.